Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of Ask Emily. Our first question comes from Amrita, who said, "The holiday season is creeping up, and Black Friday is the best time to hit everyone on the shopping list. What advice would you have for picking thoughtful, unique, yet reasonable gifts on a college student's budget?" I think the most important thing when it comes to gift giving is to be really organized. And that isn't to say that you have to have all of your presents bought by Thanksgiving, but start a list. I actually have one that kind of goes year round. I just have an Evernote on my phone so that if I come up with an idea, I jot it down, and then when the holidays approach, birthdays, anything, I'm ready. I have some ideas already jotted down. I happen to avoid Black Friday mall craziness at all costs. But you can still take advantage of a lot of the great deals that are in stores online. So I try to do all of my shopping online. And if there is something that's already on your list that coincides with a sale, that's a great time to snap it up. And then lastly, things on a budget. This is whether you're in college, at any point. Homemade gifts always are a really wonderful thing to give and receive. I do things in big batches, so I'll make a ton of homemade cookies, or I've infused alcohol in the past, which always goes over very well. Brianne asked, "I love how you recycle the glass from former candles. There are so many neat reuse ideas, but how did you ever manage to get all of the wax out?" This, I think, comes down more to how you burn your candles and less about your technique for getting the wax out. So I am really diligent about how I burn my candles and make sure that I burn them for at least 2 hours each time that I burn them. That means it's going to burn really evenly and the wax kind of goes all the way to the sides. In years past, I would burn them for 30 minutes and run out the house and blow them out, and that's when you get that really uneven look, so that at the end of the candle, you can have wax piled up for several inches on the sides, which makes it really hard to get out. So if you burn your candles evenly, there shouldn't be a ton left over when you're at the end, and then what I do is just add boiling water with some soap added to it, and then eventually I can kind of scrape it all out. I'm sure there are a ton of other ideas and ways to go about it online, but that's always worked really well for me. This next question is from Stephanie, who said, "Do you have any tips on improving your writing?" When I wrote my first blog post, I think it took me roughly 3 hours. And if you look back, it's nothing riveting or amazing. It just is that I hadn't been writing a lot. And so even writing a few paragraphs proved to be really difficult. So I think it's really crucial that you write often. And then secondly, it's really important to read a lot. If you are reading newspapers or blogs or books, really try to absorb as much as you can. I've always been a big fan of highlighting certain passages that I love. Really helps find your unique voice. And then you can kind of cater what your voice is. If it's a little bit more editorial and serious, or if it's a little bit more conversational and fun. And then lastly, try to find someone whose writing you admire, who can look over your work and give you their feedback. Constructive criticism goes a really long way. My dad is my go-to, and he's wonderful with saying the things that he likes about my writing, but then also is great about finding ways to tighten it up and so that I can work on improving it in the future. Sarah asked, "I'm the type of person that always needs to be doing something. When you have some time to yourself and feel the same way, what are your go-to boredom busters?" I'm very similar to you, and I'm not one that's usually just like lying around doing nothing. And from what I've been told, once you have a baby, there's really no such thing as being bored. But for right now, I really like to do things that keep me busy, but also kind of make me feel productive. So whether that's tackling a project around the house or cleaning, doing laundry, something where I'm moving around and then getting something done is kind of my favorite thing to do. I also love a beauty treatment. If I'm going to put on a mask or paint my nails, I love that that has a pretty outcome at the end. And then I think for me, the things that are most fun are pulling out my stack of magazines that I rarely get to, a lot of which are cooking magazines. And so I have the time to actually leaf through those. I can mark the pages with recipes that sound good, and then I can get in the kitchen and go cook up something good. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Ask Emily. And please continue sending in your questions to me via the comment section on my blog or through social media with the hashtag AskEmily.